Something's broken, but we're here. It's Wednesday night, and it's time for SuperAero Live. I'm bummed out because I was excited to see the pipe. I always get excited to see the Piper Cub, and it didn't show up. I heard a little music, and then it stopped, and then it just... Technology, am I right? Hey, everybody. It was so great to have you here Wednesday night for SuperAero Live. I want to say hi to a couple people in the chat and then just dig right in with our guest. I'm super pumped to introduce you guys to her in just a second. I see Brian Petro's here, Gary Smith's here, all the old favorites, Waukesha Pilot, Tactical Bacon. That's a new name. Hey, Tactical Bacon, whoever you are. How do you use Tactical Bacon? Krieger's here. Hey, just got his, he got a cool piece of new plastic from the FAA I saw today. Some other new names. Abdullah's here. Hey, Abdullah, great to have you. Ryan is here. Marty's here, of course. Nathan Ballard is here talking smack in the chat. Jonathan, everyone is here. If I missed your name, we could literally just be, we could be naming names all week. Maybe we'll do that next week. I don't think we have a guest exactly lined up next week. I'll just read names all week. Would you guys be into that? The other thing I wanted to ask you about is, would you be into a shortened intro? Because the YouTube algorithm says, shorten that thing up, dude. And I kind of like dancing to to the song like you guys do. Anyway, enough about enough about me and my new Jeffrey Dahmer glasses. Let's introduce our guest for tonight. Everybody, Chelsea Smith is here. Yay, they're cheering for you.
Hey, how are you?
Good. I'm so excited to have you. Thank you for hopping on. I'm really excited to talk about. You kind of do everything. So, yeah, it's going to be cool. but
You
how are
forgot
you?
one in your shout out. I saw my mom in the comments, so hi
Oh,
mom.
hey. Hey, Mom.
Yeah, so I do a lot of stuff with aviation, a lot of different stuff. I do maintenance, I do flying, and I got my start in aviation with helping my uncle build an airplane. But I am the only professional aviator in the family, so I'm pursuing it as a career. So that's been very fun and very interesting to try to navigate that. And I relied a ton on my mentors, but it's been an awesome journey so far. And I'm super excited to be on your show tonight.
So the cool thing about us getting you on the show is that every once in a while people will just be like, hey, there's this person you have to have on the show. And sometimes it's like John Travolta, and I can't get John Travolta.
Oh,
Oh no,
lights
the
are on.
lights turned off. You are on the road right now, and you have to like dance to get the lights on.
Yeah,
We're gonna roll with it. It's live television, but like I had a couple people reach out. They're like, "Hey, you got to get Chelsea in. She's amazing. Look at all this stuff she does." And I was like, "Man, yeah." So I'm super excited to have you here. I'm wondering, see, Tango and Juliet are like nice glasses. Yeah, my other ones, guys, I was on a film set and there was so much snow blasting me in the face, it actually like ruined them. So I couldn't see. And I have these, but my wife says they're good, but I think they're little Dahmery with the mustache. Anyway, enough about me. Let's talk more about Chelsea. So Chelsea, you sent over kind of a video of what your life is like, and it's insane,
yeah.
folks. You're like wrenching on stuff, but you're wrenching on like big stuff. So could you tell me a little bit, just like what's the average, like you were out in the hangar working today, like what's the average day like for you when you're not like flying over idyllic lakes?
Yeah, so I actually started out in aviation on the flying side, and like a lot of people, um, I didn't really have a super defined idea of exactly what I wanted to do, but like everyone else, I mean, as soon as I took my first flight, I was like, I could see myself pursuing this. And then it was, then you're back to the drawing board of, okay, so then the question is how. And for me, I was getting ready to start school and I had to declare my major. And so when I was reviewing the sheet of majors, the thing that was at the top of the list was aviation maintenance. And I had never thought about it before, never considered it. But I declared my major aviation maintenance. And a couple weeks later, I got a tool list in the mail. And a couple weeks after that, I walked into a classroom of all guys and engines torn apart and thought to myself, okay, what did I just get myself into? But it was a 2.5 year Part 147 program, and I completed that. Totally in love with aviation maintenance, being able to take stuff apart and put it back together, and then also apply it to real world stuff and airplanes that are taking families or medical supplies and just everything in between. Um, Being able to work on those things became something that I totally fell in love with, although it wasn't my original plan. But ultimately, that definitely got me closer to the flying side. And so I tell people all the time, looking back at my entire journey, 90% of my opportunities have come from being an A&P rather than being a pilot, even if they've been opportunities to fly. And the maintenance side became very important to me, and I'm very passionate about it. And I spend a lot of time trying to help my friends who are pilots and other aviators or students at the university, or, you know, everything in between. I spend a lot of time trying to help people uh, also get involved with maintenance to some capacity, and like learning how to do their own preventative maintenance and stuff like that. So I think so many things on the maintenance side are overlooked by the pilots, and it's things that they could be doing. So I have a unique opportunity for sure to take advantage of building a bridge between the pilot side and the maintenance side. And it's something I'm definitely very passionate about. But I get to do a ton of flying too. Next week, I'm actually taking my commercial written and then hopefully a check ride shortly after. I got a 150 about a year and a half ago to build time. And I've told a lot of people I would have never been able to tackle getting an airplane being such a young pilot and young as in hours, not knowing as much about aviation. I wouldn't have been able to do that without the A&P background to fall back on, to understand that whole other side, the owner operator responsibilities that come in with owning your own airplane. And so that's been an adventure. I've had the opportunity to do 2 internships, and then I do maintenance jobs here and there. And so I'm looking forward to finishing up my ratings and then doing some flying stuff professionally as well. And there goes the line again.
I love it. No, okay. So you hit on something, which, by the way, I don't know if you know this. We may break, at this rate, we may break the record for most live viewers on the show. We might get there. We might get there. We're really high up already. So everyone share this and let people know that we've got Chelsea on and they got to come watch. Okay, so I wanna ask you a question. So you talked a little bit about this is something I was going to ask you later in the show, but you kind of teased it really well, which was how I was going to ask you, because you're on both sides of the coin, right? Mm-hmm. What are things that I can do as just a private pilot, or as an aircraft owner? I have a partner in an aircraft.
Yeah.
What are things as a mechanic, as an A&P, that you would want me to know? Like, what's the one piece of advice that I need to either change about what I'm doing, or that I should do to make myself safer, better, whatever?
Yeah, so the best way I can explain that is I saw a picture of myself doing a pre-flight from when I was originally taking flight lessons way before the A&P thing. And I saw that picture of myself after I had completed A&P school, and I was like, how did I look at an airplane then versus now? And so I try to put myself back into those shoes of no maintenance background, and then figure out how to explain to pilots, things that people on the maintenance side find very important. And, mechanics always think not always, but mechanics are like, pilots are such idiots, they break these planes. And then pilots are like, oh, mechanics are such idiots, they can never fix the planes on time. It's this love-hate relationship that we have with our planes and with our mechanics and pilots. And, no matter what side of the shop you're on, I think it's very important when you're going to take responsibility of an aircraft. And I can speak better on the GA side. But when you are responsible for an aircraft as an owner operator, or you're a student pilot, or you're just time building, or you're a CFI, spending a lot of time really getting to know your engine and understanding the systems. And the best way to do that is to go hang out at a maintenance shop, go volunteer, or start to build a relationship with your mechanic, or find mechanics around the airport that are willing to help you do your own oil changes. You can start there. And I know, most people usually do oil changes every 50 hours. Some people more, hopefully, or more frequently, hopefully not less frequently. Oil is cheap, engines are expensive. So, find a mechanic who is willing to show you a few things, and then start doing preventative maintenance yourself. If you're in the position to do so. I know a lot of people rent aircraft, and so you're not always in the position to get to know your aircraft on that intimate level. And but take advantage of those opportunities to get your hands dirty and ask questions and really understand everything that's going on. I always say 2 inches and a firewall in front of your toes, because it could end up saving you, whether you're on the ground and you're broken down somewhere, or you're trying to troubleshoot an in-flight emergency. I think it's so important to start understanding those. And it's also so fun to be able to fix your own aircraft and troubleshoot and understand everything that's going on that level. It's, how I every single day that I get to fly and every single day I get to do maintenance, it still seems unreal to me, and I get so excited about all the little parts. But you take those parts and you start breaking them down, and they're so simple. And they're all one of the, I think it's 5 or 6 basic mechanical parts: a lever, a screw, a wedge, and so on. So you start breaking those things down, and you can really get to know your maintenance and understand it. And for me, when I'm talking to pilots, owner operators, I'm like, start with the preventative maintenance, and also start with building a good relationship with your mechanic. And this is going to happen all night. I guess that's my cutoff switch. I could probably talk all night about aviation maintenance, but doing preventative maintenance. And I think it's great. People usually don't fly like 200 plus hours a year. So I think it is good to have a mechanic's eyes on your engine every 50 hours when you do that preventative maintenance, your oil changes in between annuals. But at the same time, get involved on stuff like that.
Awesome. No, I mean, that's what you're talking about is something that I will admit, like, I've been a little freaked out to get started on. One, because I think I'm going to really like it, but 2, it's just a lot to learn. Like, I don't know, it's a lot to learn, right? But I like that encouragement to get more involved. I mean, we have an excellent maintenance officer in our club who's constantly interfacing with our mechanic team, the shop that we take our 172 to, and I'm kind of like always trying to like listen a little bit, like, okay, like, what did you learn there? What did we learn there? The other really interesting thing is that we have a diverse group of pilots all using this one asset, and we all break the plane in different fun ways, right? So I don't know. I've been thinking about that. By the way, just to give a shout out, Christy in our club found a like 3/4 torn alternator belt. So thank you for finding that on your pre-flight. And also, since I'm in the middle of yakking away here, Jonathan and Nathan with the super stickers. Thanks, guys. Thank you for supporting that. You guys are like always supporting the show, and it just makes my heart grow. I don't know, 3 sizes. What's the Grinch thing? But you guys are the best. So there've been a couple people have been asking questions on Instagram and in the chat today, and I wish I could bring up a lot of people are asking kind of different permutations of this question. In the video that we're kind of cutting back and forth to, you are working on a very diverse set of aircraft, 1, and 2, a really diverse set of materials. And I've heard that every mechanic has like their own preferred medium. Do you have like you're literally like, I saw shots of you welding, of you like rocking on a wood wing. Like, is there something that you love in that subset of maintenance and repair that more than the other pieces of it?
When it all goes right, that's what I love.
Very good answer.
No,
I dig it.
I have definitely a very unique aviation maintenance journey and flying journey kind of combined. But when it comes to maintenance, I have always really worked on recip. I did have the opportunity to go do Bombardier's Challenger 300 and 350 series type. So that's kind of my only introduction to aviation maintenance on the turbine side. But when you're involved with general aviation maintenance, you kind of get to see it all.
Sure.
And I've done advanced composite training, and I did stuff down in Mobile, Alabama with Continental. I got to spend one of my favorite experiences ever was spending a summer out in Arizona working. That was kind of like my introduction to the Warbirds. So I got to spend a summer out there working on radial engines with someone who became one of my most looked up to mentors, and I really admire a lot. But you know, being in general aviation maintenance, you get to see it all. And I think I've been very open to opportunities to work on stuff, and I try not to get in over my head, because that's a big thing with maintenance is the liability. And you know, you're putting lives behind your work, and so you have to take it so seriously, and you really, the margin for error becomes smaller and smaller. I know that a lot of stuff is redundant on an aircraft for a reason, but you know, little mistakes can lead to big failures when they compile, both on the flying and maintenance side. And so, this is gonna happen all night.
If you want to leave it off, just leave, I mean, we could just do like you could tell us like aviation ghost stories.
Yeah, I need a flashlight. Now you're really testing my maintenance stuff. You're like, a good mechanic always carries a flashlight.
So does a good producer. I've got my headlamp somewhere.
But yeah, so a favorite thing, I don't know. I like working on everything. I like having the opportunity to work on a lot of different things, but taking it seriously and following the book is very important. And just gaining more experience. And I tell people all the time, A&P school did not teach you how to go work on all of these aircraft. It taught you how to be a good mechanic, how to be organized, the rules and regulations, and where to find the material that you need to follow through and get the mission done on your maintenance. You get your experience out in the field, really. Whether you go and you're working heavy maintenance at the airlines or whatever it may be, from the smallest to the largest, you learn a lot more on the job than you do. And there's two ways to become a mechanic if people are interested. So you either do an apprentice, which is that hands-on experience, or you do a Part 147 approved A&P program. And that's the route that I took. And I think it was the best for me because I was kind of starting out with not any experience or background. And I was a clean slate for that. But they both have a lot of pros and cons, like different angles you could look at them. But yeah, there's a lot of routes to get to get your A&P, and I enjoy working on it all.
Awesome. I mean, I've heard like some people are like, oh, like I really love the metalworking, but I hate the engines, or I really love the engines and I hate the welding, or so I was just interested. People are asking too. Someone, and I feel bad, guys. You guys are so talkative in the chat. I'm losing the ability. Although I'll put this one up because this made me laugh. I hit that like button for the hashtag flannel fund. Very funny, Nathan. The people were asking about like you were talking about composites. They were asking about what do you think about all the new carbon fiber home builds that are coming out. It sounds like you just dig all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I did advanced composite training, and I've dabbled in a little bit of composites, but I haven't done a ton of it out on my own, out in the field. You just don't run into it. But like
Sure.
you were mentioning the sheet metal, some people prefer sheet metal, some want to do the hydraulics. So in my opinion, where you find that kind of work is more on the airlines, where you really hone your skill and specialize. But when you're in GA, you do it all. If there's a sheet metal repair that needs to be done, you're breaking out the bucking bars and you're going to dive in on that. And then the next day, you might be, working avionics, pulling a unit, checking continuity. I mean, it just, general aviation maintenance and the Warbird side and that whole arena of aviation maintenance, you see it all and you do it all. And so you're versed. but specializing is wonderful, and not just in aviation, but in every field. And so, you can really hone your skill. But yeah, I think the airlines cater more towards focusing on a sheet metal or a hydraulic specialist or avionics or something like that. Not in all cases, of course. So, but that's usually how it goes in the industry.
That makes sense. I wanted to ask you then about your unique path. Someone in here was like, how have you not asked, where was it? Someone said, I like to put these on the screen, Chelsea, so that people can see what people are saying, but everyone's so talkative tonight, which is good. Guys, keep talking. You don't need to see your names on the screen. It was like, how come you haven't talked about Yaks yet? Because you have kind of a history with the, I mean, you've got this special Warbird kind of, you're talking about specialization. It feels like one of your specialties is Warbirds, which is unique in its own right. But then there's also like, did you cut your teeth on Yaks, or how? Like, everyone's asking me, but I ask you about Yaks. So
Yeah, so that I can kind of talk about my Yak story. So in aviation, okay, we're just gonna have to do the lights off.
I love it. No, let's just roll with it.
So how did I get started in Yaks? I showed up for a 99's volunteer Girl Scout day, and the Hangar 5 guys at Bowman Field, which is my home airport, they were hosting this event. They were allowing the 99's to use their hangar for this event. And, when you show up as an A&P, you get like 100 new best friends. Everyone has an airplane, automatic, you're like exchanging numbers. It's really funny. But I showed up at the Yak hangar, and I was an A&P. I had just graduated A&P school, and I was actually getting ready to head across the country for the summer before I started at the university to finish a 4-year. I was hanging out at that hangar, and they were like, well, since you're already going out west for the summer, why don't you contact one of our mechanics? She owns her own shop. And when they said she, I was like, wait, there's a girl mechanic? Because I had been in school for 1.5 years before I even met another girl mechanic, which was, thinking back, it just seemed kind of normal at the time. But looking back, I was like, wow, that was a really profound moment, meeting my first female A&P, which at the time I didn't realize how big of a deal that was, because there aren't many. It's a very, very small sliver of the industry. In the US, it's about 2 to 3%, and then worldwide, it's less than 1. So they were like, yeah, she owns her own shop, and she works on the planes that we have in our hangar, which are the Yaks. And so I ended up exchanging a few emails with her. I told her I was already going to be out west doing the advanced composite stuff, and that I was, a young up-and-coming mechanic. I was excited, and I was always very eager to try new things and meet new people and learn as much as I could and go as many places as I could. And so she invited me out. She was like, I've never had an intern, but if you want to show up for the summer, we'd love to have you. And so I got to spend the summer. That was where I really started cutting my teeth on the radials and the Warbirds. So I always laugh. I went from advanced composite trainings in Reno, Nevada at Abras, and then I went south. And day one, I show up, and they have me starting on a fabric project. So I went from next generation technology of aircraft airframes to, the original, and within a week time frame. So yeah, I really bounced around a lot, and I've had a lot of diverse opportunities to learn. But yeah, I do a lot of stuff with the Yaks, and then back home in Louisville, I get to work on Yaks with those guys, and they've really become, I've relied so much on my mentors who've become my absolute best friends, people I call when I need advice or I'm trying to navigate my next career move, or if I'm confused about a situation, or if I just need a beer and a good laugh and to hear some good aviation stories. Those guys have really become my family there and really taken me in. And I'm so thankful for, my whole network of mentors and friends. But those guys have a very special place in my heart. And yeah, they sent me out there. They were hoping I'd learn a thing or two and bring back some good tricks to help them work in their hangar.
Love it. So let's talk about the Yak for just 2 seconds, because I don't know. It's in the clips that we watched a little bit, but what's also interesting about working on a Yak to me is that it's everything's different, right? Because it's from the other side of the world. So is there anything that? Go ahead.
Yeah, everything rotates backwards.
So that's not confusing at all, right?
No, it can be.
So talk to me. A couple of people. I'm just going to switch to questions for a second here. Actually, you started on Yaks. Plain lady on Instagram, who's building an RV-10 with her husband.
Hey, plain lady.
She says she wanted to know your favorite plane to work on, and your least favorite plane to work on.
Oh my gosh.
If you're allowed to say that.
Wow. Okay. So my favorite plane to work on is my uncle's plane, which is one that he started building, which was my ultimate route to aviation. And it was so funny. I was actually headed out west to work with Jill, and her company is called M14. And he was like, that's the same exact engine that's going on the plane that he's building. So I'll kind of delve into that a little bit. My uncle started building a Fokker DR1 triplane, full-scale replica,
Whoa.
all from scratch. It's not a kit plane. He's got blueprints, and he has, I don't even know, 3,000 hours into building this thing. And he's he already has, it's actually already on the frame. It's the M14 Russian radial engine. So if I had to pick a favorite, it's not done yet. He's getting really close. And we have to finish the fabric and some rigging, and it'll be ready for its maiden flight, hopefully. But he's been working on that for a long time. So that actually has the Russian radial engine on it, and their air start engines. It's the pneumatics, which is on the Yaks too. The landing gear, the brakes, everything are pneumatic. It's all air start, and that's one of the weird things about them too. That's very unique. But that's probably my favorite. My least favorite plane to work on, I don't know. I hear a lot of people say Moonies because they're so tight, but I don't know. I have really small hands, so I get called over a lot because they're like, hey, can you climb in this area, or can your hands reach this? And that was one of the things when I started A&P school. I was so intimidated. I was like, I'm not going to be strong enough or big enough, and all these guys. And it turned out that they needed me to come over and reach something, or to use my small hands to get to a part or a safety wire in a tight area. They needed me a lot more than I needed them for their, brunt muscle. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a least favorite. I've had plenty of frustrating, want to throw the wrench across the hangar and come back tomorrow situations, but I don't know. That's a good question.
I was thinking about our interview. We're doing a photo shoot tomorrow for my day job, and I had to assemble. This is like I was getting so frustrated assembling a bench.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, because I get really, every time I have a guest on the show, I get really excited about what they do, and then for like a week until the next show, I dream about doing whatever they're doing, right? So the next week I'm going to be Googling like A&P school and how to get started working on Warbirds and all that stuff. And I was sitting there today and I was like, using like a 5mm hex wrench, just turning a million screws on this bench, and I was like, this sucks. I'm bad at this. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Those guys, yeah, half the guys in
Yeah.
the world can't even put together a bench. So
Some of the most simple things like cowling a plane can become the most frustrating when everything's just not lining up right. Or just, I mean, we were putting some panels back on the P40 earlier today, and we had an
I
all
like how casually you say that. Sorry, you're just like, it's like working on a P40, whatever. Sorry. Anyway,
yeah,
continue. You're putting the cowl back on the P40. Tell me more.
yeah. We're actually starting on the P51 tomorrow for the annual. That's gonna be like, you know, I'm very excited to be able to say I've turned a wrench on a P51, but yeah, so we were putting inspection panels back on the P40. Everything was getting buttoned up, kind of you're doing your wrap up process and your final look over on everything, and we're putting some panels back on, and it was like, this is one of the easiest things that we have to do on this annual inspection on this plane, and the screws were just like nothing was really lining up, and it's so simple, but stuff like that can just get the best of you sometimes. And when you're turning wrenches, the smallest problems can really snowball or test your patience.
So talk to me. You've mentioned the P51s kind of feels like a big deal to work on the P51. I mean, in terms of Warbirds specifically, anything, I mean, the P51, obviously it sounds like that's a new experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I have not worked on P51 before or P40. So yeah, it's a new experience and something that I have really focused on is, like I said, taking advantage of opportunities, like showing up for a 99's Girl Scout event. And then ultimately that transpired and led to me going across the country to spend the other half of my summer in Kingman, Arizona, working on radials. So saying the power of yes and showing up and volunteering. And the other day I was asked, how can we get people involved in aviation? We have this maintenance shortage that's, they say approaching, and, it's already here. And it's going to be affecting all of us in a negative way. The price is going to go up. The wait times at shops are going to continue to increase. And I know a lot of people are like, how can they go up anymore, increase anymore? And so one of the things that I have really done and try to tell people is taking advantage of those opportunities, saying yes, showing up to volunteer at events. So many times when I've showed up to volunteer, it has become so much more than just, I'd rather be spending my Sunday afternoon doing something else, and being present. And when I was asked, what can we do to help the younger generation get involved with aviation, it's like the family at the fence. Invite them in, show them an airplane, throw their kids in the front seat, or have your friend's son who has shown a little bit of interest, have him come out and hold a flashlight for you and teach him parts of the engine and help them get engaged. So getting the next generation starts with us and everyone watching, everyone at the airport, from the tower to the FBO and everything in between. It's going to take all of us showing up for them and inviting people and encouraging and making them feel very welcome, because the aviation industry, when you haven't been involved, is very intimidating. And it's like, where do you even begin with 10-foot tall fences and barbed wire around every single airport? It's, how do you get started on that? So be that hand that's reaching back and pulling the next person up is kind of something that I try to keep in mind. And then also saying yes to opportunities when someone's doing that for me.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That is 100% huge. I was just, not to pull it back. I don't know. I don't have this, like, my career is not in aviation, right? So I don't have this, same experience on the aviation side. I mean, obviously, like, pre-COVID, we were all trying. I would hope we're all trying to, in this, he says with his creepy glasses on, the least creepy way possible, being like, "Come, young children, get in my airplane, like let me show you the wonders of flight."
Yeah.
But professionally, right? Like, I think there's two ways you can do it, right? You can gatekeep and pull up walls and professionally prevent people from succeeding, or you can do that, right? You can be warm and teach them and bring them into the fold and show them something new, right? I think in the film industry, we talk about that a lot, right? Like, there are the producers, directors that yell and put everyone down, and they're the ones that say, "Hey, come over, like look at what the camera's seeing right now, look at this, like let me teach you, like get pumped about this." So I think that's awesome. I think that's huge. And for anyone watching, you've got a young person and an old person telling you the same thing, so it must be true. Anyway, a couple questions in the chat about just your favorite Warbird. Like, you've worked on a bunch, you've flown in a bunch.
I don't know. Every single flight is so different and every maintenance task is so different. And that's one of not only the challenging parts of aviation, but the rewarding parts. And, I have flown in quite a few different types of airplanes. And like, the aerobatic flights that I've done, when the characteristics plane to plane are so different, and then getting back down on the ground and kind of analyzing, what characteristics from someone who's new made me uncomfortable, and then learning and growing more and doing more flights, it's like, no, those characteristics were actually really ideal for that flight. And that's what makes that aircraft so controllable, and that's the art and the beauty of aviation. Like, you're able to actually show that. So just I can never choose. I don't know why these questions are hard.
That's what we do here. We ask the tough questions on SuperAero Live. It's like your children, right? You can't have a favorite.
My favorites are not really about the airplane. It's my favorite flights. When I look back and think about it, it's who I got to share that flight with, who was there, who, did I either have the opportunity to take up, or who extended the hand and pulled me aboard for the flight. That is what makes flights stand out to me when I look back at all of them. And that's what has been really special.
Yeah, and I think there's this other thing that happens with that. I think it still works on us that have flown a lot. Maybe you're the testament to that. I'm sure you've actually got a lot more flight time than I do, even, right? And I think even I do, he says, as like someone with a couple hundred hours who's over 10 years or something. There's something about the experience of flight, in my opinion, that it's, even though those of us that are privileged enough to get to taste flight, or whatever the poetic way to talk about it is, it still is like crystallized in our head every time. Like, I was looking through my logbook the other day, and I was remembering even flights where I was just like, takeoff, landings. Like, I didn't write any good notes. I was still remembering what happened, right? Or, thinking about people who don't get to fly, and you take them up. Like, that's something they'll remember for the rest of their lives. Like, I've got a couple of videos on my channel taking some friends up for the first time, and we still talk about that. It's years ago now. We still talk about it. Or thinking about, the first time I took my wife up in a plane, the first time I took my mom, my dad, my brother. Those are like, bam, right? So I agree. I think it's something about, what is that? The overlook effect. It's like, you take that, you combine it with like human interaction, and you get this like really cool thing. Anyway, sorry, I don't mean to get all poetic here. Yeah. Thank you.
No, that's really good. Very well said. I mean, every single thing I can 100% attest to. And within the past year and a half, having the little 150 that I got to time build and stuff like that, I got to also do Young Eagle flights for the first time.
Yeah, I saw. Let's see if I can find that in your footage here. Yeah, tell
Yeah,
us more about that.
I think that there's one at the very end, and it's like it's a guy that I went to A&P school with, and it was his daughter, and that was her first ever flight, and she was so nervous. But she looked at me before she took off. We took off, and she was like, "I really trust you," which was cute. But I was also like, you know, you say that kind of stuff, and it's like, oh, well, you don't really know me. But it was really cute. Um, but yeah, having the opportunity to take young eagles up for the first time kind of felt like, for me, it was the first time I had the experience to turn around and give back in the way that so many people had given to me. And I felt like those experiences, it kind of came full circle for the first time, you
Sure.
know? And I might have talked about it a little bit before, but mentors. And truly in aviation, I haven't seen a community or heard of a community that is matched with people that are so passionate and so enthused and so wound up and excited to share their experiences with other people. And if you just go hang out at an airport on a Saturday afternoon and just start conversations, like, those people that have been in aviation for a while, they have so many pieces of advice and experience to give back, and they love to do that. And so you have to take advantage of those things. But having mentors for me has truly shaped everything that I've done along the way and all my experiences. And then just building those friendships and getting to hear their stories. Like, I love spending a whole day at the airport, and then at the end, everybody's hanging out in the hangar and it's time to wind down. The tools are up. We've shut the lights off. The planes are all tucked in, and we're all sitting around having a beer, and the stories come out. And a lot of the people that I get to be around have been ex-military pilots or have spent a career in the airlines. And if you just sit down and listen to them, the stuff that they have to say and the stories and the journey that they've taken, every single time you'll leave with a smile. And but the whole mentor thing and building those relationships has been really pivotal and monumental in my own journey.
I think the other thing I'll just add to that is like how much you get to learn
Yeah.
in those moments, right? Like because I mean what we're doing is unnatural, it's superhuman. I've heard,
Yeah.
like it's this totally just unusual thing. And on both, I mean, and again, I guess you see both sides of this, right? You're flying and you're working on stuff. Like there's a lot to learn from the people who come before you. So those moments too, like for me, it was like just like trying to get everything in this big stupid head of mine, right? Like trying to understand and learn from all these people that have come before us too, I think is so valuable.
Yeah. I totally agree. And I've heard people joke, they're like, we won't live long enough to make every mistake on our own. So you got to learn from other people's. And, not only the mistakes, but the things that, um, sorry, but not only the mistakes, like just everything in between, from the mundane flights to the flights that were super challenging and you didn't know um, if you were going to be able to work through certain situations, and how are you going to troubleshoot them, or you were faced with challenges that you hadn't seen before in the cockpit, or the maintenance procedures that were totally different than what someone was saying. And so now you're torn. Do you listen to the guy in the hangar that's been doing this for 30 years, or do you follow the spec and tech data? that's printed out, and kind of finding your way through that and having the experience, and having people that are willing to spend the time with our most valuable, unrenewable resource, and truly spend the time and give that to you through their stories and their own lessons. That's, one of the most beautiful things about human life in general.
Dude, we're going deep tonight, Chelsea. I love it. This is good. We should turn this into like a little. Well, you should turn this into a little bit of like a speaking tour.
No, no way.
It's so good. It's so good. We're hitting it hard, man. I love it.
For this, I was like, I've never done anything like video stuff like this. Like, I love talking to people in person and connecting and stuff like that, and I get really excited for it. But ultimately, I am very shy, and I don't really put myself out there like that. So a whole video thing, my anxiety would be through the roof.
Get in front of, like, when we can get into like packed. You could pack a whole theater in the woods featuring high maintenance Chels.
We'll see about that.
So we're almost done. We're almost out of time. But so guys, if you have any other questions, hit us up in the chat. Any other questions for Chelsea? Burning maintenance questions or flying questions. I've been mostly. I think everyone's really excited to talk about the Warbird thing, whatever. But you were talking a little bit about your 150. Like, you want to talk a little bit about like how you got it? Where you said you've been building time in it. You've obviously been making some great memories in it. Like, what's the story of that?
Yeah, so I had gotten my private and I had about 100 hours, and I started looking at the cost of renting aircraft versus ownership. And I got on this whole tangent, and I spent a summer and then a semester working at an aircraft sales and brokerage company. So I got really exposed to that whole side of the industry. I mean, there are so many intricate little pieces that go into aviation in general: the maintenance, the ATC, the FBOs, the fuel, the insurance, and then ownership. And that's a whole book on its own. Oh, did you just put that up there?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was just going to click through some fun things where you were chatting. Sorry. Yeah, Courtney says she's convinced to do a career change.
Oh,
and
Courtney
John says you're motivational speaker. I'm sorry, I cut you off about Courtney. Say that one more time about Courtney. I cut you off.
Oh, she's flown with me like 100 times. I keep trying to get her to be a pilot with me.
I love it. Sorry, I totally interrupted you.
So
What?
the whole owner-operator responsibility inside of stuff was very intimidating and very daunting. But I spent a summer in Nashville working with my uncle on his aircraft, and during the downtime I was searching barnstormers and every other controller and trade a plane, and I was looking for a 150, and I finally found, in my opinion, the perfect one. And I told myself before, I was like, if I find a plane, like, I'm not going to get my emotions involved whatsoever. Go do a test flight. I'm going to be very, very realistic about the whole thing. And I looked at a bunch of planes, and the second I saw this one pop up, I was like, I did a lap around the house. I literally ran around the house, and I was like,
that's awesome.
This is the one. Like, this is actually going to be the one. And so I contacted the guy, and I was like, you have to hold this aircraft. I'll drive down tonight, tomorrow, whatever you want to do. So it was down in South Carolina, down by Clemson, and I got a hotel and hopped in the car and drove down there. And I showed up with my tool bag, and he was kind of looking at me like he didn't know me from Adam. He didn't know anything about me. And he's like, yeah, this chick says she's a mechanic. I have no idea if she actually is. And I was like, going through inspection panels and telling him that, I was going to do a filter cut the next day, and I would pay for that and the oil change and everything. And like I had all of these maintenance and inspection requirements and demands, and he was really cool about it. And so I ended up spending like probably 2 days there. I actually met some people in some of the flight clips there. Just Aircraft is located there, and so I got to fly with one of their test pilots a bunch.
Oh,
and
cool.
go fly into some really cool fields. We buzzed some lakes around there. Did a bunch of fun flying while I was there. Just kind of, I needed to borrow a screwdriver, and then that whole thing transpired. And they had a cool airplane, so I was hopping in that thing. But I spent 2 or 3 days there looking at this aircraft, and then I finally was like, yep, this is definitely the one. And it's a little IFR 150, so it's perfect for instrument training, which was, of course, the next thing I was working on. And I told the guy, I was like, yeah, I wanted to make a deal with him, and it all ended up working out. And so I've had that for about a year and a half now. And I'm kind of thinking, after my next check ride, that it might be time to sell. And I'm really, I haven't even talked to my family about this. They might be watching.
We got the scoop. We know your mom's here.
Yeah, mom's here. I probably have aunts, uncles. I don't know. Someone maybe helped my grandma get her iPad going, so she might be on here too. But anyways, so I'm kind of interested in, the 150 really played its role, and it's been the perfect trainer, perfect time builder. And I'm kind of thinking that it is time for a tail dragger now to get some real stick time and continue to do that. And my goal is to finish my CFI this summer, and I'm actually headed back out west, and I'm going to do 6 more months out in Arizona, and then a summer in Alaska is my, kind of year and a half plan outlook, my next adventure stint. So,
dude, we'll have to have you on the show again to talk about that. That's epic.
Definitely.
I don't know how I'm just stuck in my basement trying to get my kids to go to bed. Do this stuff before you have kids, everybody. That's the secret. You got to do it on the front end. I mean, I love my kids.
Share that with them.
No, I mean,
aviation, that's so awesome.
No, yeah, I think it'll be cool. It's gonna. My kids are young. When they get a little bit older, like they're already like, we're walking down the street and my daughters will be like, "Daddy, look, an airplane. You like airplanes?" Like, it's like, okay, we're working on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, sharing it with them will be really cool when they're. We're waiting a little bit until they're a little bit older so they can just like experience it more. And we're not using the plane to like go places yet. I think when that happens, it'll be cool too. But yeah. What a cool adventure though. That's gonna be so cool. I mean, I love that you're just like, I'm gonna go to Arizona, 6 months, bam, bam, bam. Gonna go to Alaska, do all that.
And then my goal after Alaska, if I can make it happen, is while I was in Mobile doing continental training, I met a guy who flies mission, and him and his family lives in Brazil, and he flies like the whole range of Cessna fleets all over South America, and he delivers medical supplies. And so he not only gets kind of that backcountry flying and the super remote, and for that stuff, like almost I've never heard of a company or an agency that does mission flying that does not require an A&P. So when I had both tickets, I was like, this is a really unique sector that I can branch into. So I'm really interested in doing that. I would like to do it for about 6 months, maybe a year. So that's kind of on the horizon and something that I'm really looking into right now. And I just have a craving to do some mission flying and stuff, like tackle that whole realm of aviation.
Yeah. No,
so
that's
we'll
like,
see if I can pull that off.
Well, okay, so we have to have you on the show twice more. So you got to come talk to us after you fly in Alaska for a summer, and then you gotta come talk to us after you go to Brazil or South America and do mission flying for.
Absolutely. Or you guys will just have to come visit.
There we go. See, that's a great idea. We could do a live show by then. So we're a little bit over time, but some people had some quick questions I wanted to ask, and then we're gonna play a quick game if you're up for it.
Absolutely.
No one's ever said no yet. So one of these days, someone's gonna be like, "Not playing your stupid game." Let me find it in here real quick. There was a question about, and while I look for it, one of the things that's kind of funny, you were telling the story about the 150, like doing the pre-buy on it yourself. That's a nice benefit, a little side benefit.
Huh?
Where is it here? So, people were talking a little bit. What about your IA? Is that a thing you want to do? A couple people have asked about taking off. Asked about that. Jonathan's asking about that.
Yeah, absolutely. IA. So to become an IA, you have to have. I actually read the reg yesterday morning, and I was already pretty familiar with it, but I wanted to go back and catch up on it. Someone was playing music really loud. I don't know if you all can hear that.
Can't hear right now. We're good.
Anyway, so to become an IA, which means inspection authorization, you have to be an AMP for at least 3 years, and the reg says 2 consecutive, and then 1 can be, quote, at any time, but you have to be actively engaged for at least 3 years. So my 3-year mark is actually going to be March 20th. And I'm probably going to wait about 6 months past that to gain extra experience and stuff before I try to get signed off and something submitted with the FSDO and the FAA for my eligibility so that I can test. But yeah, IA is on the horizon, hopefully sooner than later. I am looking forward to being able to do annuals. As an AMP, you can do 99% of what an IA can do minus Form 337s, which is major repair alteration, or annuals. And so, anything else is on the table, but in general aviation, everything is usually an annual, unless you're doing like 100 hours for a flight school. I mean, there's still a lot you can do, but I'm really looking forward to being able to tack on the IA as well.
So the answer is yeah. So yeah, I mean, I feel like that is almost like you gotta, because what you're talking about in terms of the market, like when your touch points to an aircraft, it would help. Megan Fox has a question, and then we're going to play a game. She says, is there any way, I just figured you'd know this specifically. We'll help Megan out. Megan said, that's a big question. She says, is there anywhere in Bowman Field I could get some experience doing maintenance work? I'm planning on starting an RV-10 build, and I would love to get a little experience working on planes. Do you have any advice?
Yeah, so if you're thinking about, Bowman, I know Megan. So hi.
Which we're talking about the movie star Megan Fox, right?
Yes. Yep.
100%. She watches this show. Yep.
Yeah. So my recommendation for that would be to get involved with Project RV-12, which is a high school. So I helped them. I assisted in launching Project RV-12 at Bowman Field a few years ago. And it's a gentleman, Keith Altman, and a whole team of other people. I mean, the list just goes on and on. But he was really the one who was the movement for this. But he started Project RV-12 at Bowman Field, and he successfully took within 2 years. And I was so sad because I was all geared up. I helped them do the launch, all of the recruiting, orientations, getting stuff together in an order. The project launched, and then I had to leave for school. So then I come back later and the plane is done, which was, I got to stop in periodically, but I wasn't as involved with that as I wanted to be. But it was just a remarkable program, and they're getting ready to do it again. And so my recommendation for that would be to get involved. And whenever you're doing your RV-10 build, there are AMT logbooks that you can go on Amazon or a pilot, you know, surplus website and order and log your time. And that actually applies. You can, if there is an AMP that is involved on your build to whatever capacity that is overseeing you, they can sign off and give you credit for that work that you're doing. And you can actually put that towards getting your AMP. But at Bowman Field, I would, you know, get involved with the high schoolers that are getting ready to start on another build, another RV-12 build, and you'll really get your feet wet there.
Yeah, I think someone from the audience, I'm seeing Red Baron Modeling in the audience. I think he actually has worked on those 12s. So he's now, Megan and Red Baron Modeling are talking about how to make that even more possible. That's great advice. We should play a game because it's getting late. We should play a game. The game is called Short Final. I think we started this with Josh Flowers, and this is you know that guy. I heard I've refined it since then.
Okay.
So we've refined the game since then. So no wrong answers. Just quick question. We got a minute on the clock to bang through a bunch of questions, and yeah, we'll see how we do. I think. What's that?
Is your air horn ready or no?
Oh, I have an air horn. Hang on. 1 second. Let's do it to get it ready. Yeah, kind of the wrong air horn, but it's the closest I could find. All right, let's do it. Chelsea Smith, AMP, pilot, Warbirds, awesome. Let's do short final. First, favorite airport you've ever landed at?
Oh my God, I don't know. I'm not prepared. Lee Bottom.
Love it. Okay, turf or hard surface?
It was turf, and I think that is the way to go because they're usually in some really cool remote areas.
Awesome. You dodged this question earlier tonight. What's your favorite Warbird to fly?
To fly? I don't know. One that I flew that was also one of my most memorable flights was definitely the T6.
Very cool. Okay.
My first time doing aerobatics was in the T6.
Never gonna forget that. My first time was in a Marchetti and I hurled. Look it up. It's good for a laugh. What about when you're working on an airplane? Most underrated tool for an A&P to have?
God. An all-16ths.
I don't even know what that is. What is that? I'm like, look up the video of me puking. It's hilarious. You're like, look up all 16ths. That was funny, Chelsea. What about we're out of time, but what about your all-time least favorite tool to work with? I don't know. I was trying to, probably this guy. This guy.
I've worked with a lot of them. No, I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of like my least favorite maintenance job in the hangar, the one that's like, I don't know. I don't really enjoy doing sheet metal. So.
A pair of dull aviation snips.
Yeah. Dull anything.
I know a little bit about something. Just a little bit.
We'll have to get you out in the maintenance hangar and put you to work then.
Dude, throw me in, coach. I'm ready to go. I'd love to learn.
Well, we'll have to teach you something.
Well, in the chat I heard that someone's going to let me help with their oil change, which is a big mistake, but let's start there. That'd be fun.
Good. No, I think like if you have a club, this plane that you fly in the club, see if the mechanic host an event and have the mechanic come out and have all the members out and have the mechanic show you all how to do an oil change, even though if it's the club plane, it's probably going to be super frowned upon for people to do that on their own without the mechanic's supervision. But see if the mechanic would be willing to come out and get involved, trade him some flight time for it, or, you know, buy my case of beer, I don't know. But see if the mechanic would come out and do something like that with you all, and look up preventative maintenance, AC 43, and figure out what you're allowed to do with your private pilot's license under Part 91, owner operator, and find out what you can do and start, you know, building those relationships with your mechanic in the shop, or do an owner assist annual. Some mechanics really don't enjoy that, and some of them think that it's a wonderful opportunity to teach the pilots a lot about maintenance. It's going to kind of depend on your mechanical ability and your mechanic's attitude towards something like that, if they'd be open to it. But those are always great things and great places to start.
That's super great advice, and I'm going to totally take... Well, hopefully we get to meet sometime and you can show me the ropes a little bit, but I think I will do most of that this summer and try to get like some time. Our aircraft just got out of annual, but we keep busting it, so I'm sure I'll get to go help. I'll call the shop. They're cool people there. I'll call the shop and see if they'll let me come cut my fingers on something.
I want pictures.
Okay, deal. Chelsea, this has been awesome. I love it. Little episode of SuperAero in the dark with Chelsea.
I could probably throw my water bottle and get the light to come back on. Nope, didn't work.
That was the best thing ever.
It's motion sensor. It's uncontrollable.
I guess so.
But it was so much fun talking to you.
Yeah, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time, especially while you're on the road. Have fun with the P51 tomorrow.
I will.
And then just real quick before we wrap up, where can people find you?
Hopefully they can't. That's the point of being on the so much.
No, I meant like on the, like, do you have like a social account you want to?
No, I know. I was kidding. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm on social media to whatever capacity. I have Facebook and Instagram.
So they just do the tippy tappies, and you can check. Maybe there'll probably be a picture of a P51 on there tomorrow.
There will probably be.
Awesome. Well, Chelsea, thanks. You guarantee it. You heard it here first.
It tonight.
Okay, everyone. This has been an awesome show. I cannot believe Chelsea and I, we went deep. We went deep into the heart of aviation. So hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Remember, guys, if you like this show, subscribe, all the YouTube-y stuff. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, whatever, the dingle dangles. Do all that stuff. And if you really like what we're doing here, we've got a great group, the Squadron, the SuperAero Squadron, on Patreon. You can check that out. I'm actually about to go hang out with those folks. We do a little Zoom after show after every episode, and we talk mostly, I don't know, we drink beers and talk smart for a couple hours afterwards every Wednesday night, and it's cool. If you want to come hang with us, you can go to Patreon and do that too. But long story short, this has been epic. Thanks again to Chelsea for joining us in the dark. So fun, and we'll see you guys. Oh my god, I hope this button works since the other one didn't.